Hello and welcome to City Women. Today we're going to be joined by author of Taste of Arabia, Jessie Parker, who'll be sharing the latest Arabian recipes with us.
And the other day I got the opportunity to speak to a woman who is at the top of her game. I'm talking the game of tennis, of course. We'll be taking a look at what she had to say a little later on in the show.
You know, careers are taking on more and more importance every day. Some people put off marriage or even having kids for their careers. I mean, think about the compromise you have to make if you want to be a professional sports player.
Yeah, that's madness because, I mean, you're traveling around from place to place. They've got tournaments every single week and they've got to perform every single week. So you can't take time out to be with your family or even start up your own family. It's very difficult.
The performance part of it. Think about the training aspect of it. I mean, you can't miss out on a whole year of training if you want to. I mean, you have to start this whole experience really early on. You can't stop and have kids and then get fit again. I'm sure it's a very strict regime and there's a certain time that you have to start. And once you pass that moment, you can never think about being a professional sports player.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty difficult because I know a lot of women who've tried it and when they came back it was never quite the same. So I mean, you know, it's a huge sacrifice and you know, I put a lot of emphasis on my career and I think that it was worth it because I got to meet you girls.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's
what are you
so
saying? We're like your
touching.
kids, your replacement for kids?
Well, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we're not going to go there right now. No, I mean, if it's a career path that you choose at the end of the day, and I'm sure you choose it earlier on in life, so you know exactly what you're ready to sacrifice and what you want out of this life, and you just, you know, go ahead and pursue whatever it is, whatever goals that you've got.
There are a lot of women who get to a certain age and they realize, you know, maybe it wasn't all worth it.
That's what I was going to say.
When they go through life and they get to, say, the age of 50, they are not married and they don't have kids. You know, I know a lot of my friends who are wondering, you know, did I make a mistake? Did I put the emphasis in the right direction? Because I think that they feel a little empty. I don't know, you know.
And that's a serious, I mean, that's something to almost, and I know everyone says that we shouldn't regret anything, that's something almost to regret. It's not like you can turn back the clock of time and, you know, have kids. I mean, if you realize that when you're 50, I mean, these days it's great, we're having kids much later in life and it's totally, you know, society and medicine is really accommodating that. However, when you're 50 or 60 and you're thinking, I don't have a husband, I don't have any kids, who's going to take care of me? And you're having these thoughts because you were busy on Wall Street thinking forward and not really seizing the moment and thinking about, like, how many people do I have around me that are going to be around and take care of me and love me, then it is almost something to regret.
That's why, I mean, I consider myself pretty blessed. I did get married pretty early. I have my kids. I look at them, I don't look at my kids. I mean, I'm looking at my brothers. Wherever I go, everybody stops me and says, you know, are these your brothers? So for me, I guess it's been reversed. I guess it's the other way around. And I do feel very blessed and very fortunate.
You were smart because, I mean, because you had kids so early and got married so early, you can have the career. You can even go back and have some more kids and then continue on with the career.
Laura's options are open. Laura's options are open.
You know what it is, Julie? I guess it's the way my mom and dad brought us up, you know. Basically, career is important, but, you know, being a girl, especially the eldest in my family, being a girl, it's more important to get married and raise kids, and that's more important than anything.
It does depend on, you know, your culture and where you come from and what have you. I think that in the West, a lot of women are putting a lot more emphasis on their careers, and they're quite happy to do so. And a lot of them don't have regrets later on in life. I mean, I have a cousin, she decided to put a lot of emphasis on her career. She doesn't have any kids and she's not regretting it at all today. So, you know, it's a personal choice.
Sure, but I think if you really want to take some sort of sport or some sort of career really seriously and make it a career and not a job, I think you are going to have to make compromises. And I don't know if I would compromise my personal life, such as getting married and having kids, for whatever job that I had. I don't think I would. I don't think, right now I'm not compromising. It just hasn't happened and I've got a great job and everything's working out for me. But it's not that I'm saying no to marriage because of that, you know? Otherwise, I don't know. I think it's just too big of a compromise sometimes.
I would definitely never sacrifice on my personal life when it comes to my career. There's much more to come here on City Women after this quick break. Welcome back to City Women. Now, I'm sure most of you know by now that Julie is a big tennis fan. The other day, she got a chance to meet up with some of the top players. Check this out.
Everybody who knows me knows that tennis is my favorite sport, and today here at the Dubai Tennis Stadium I'm going to get the chance to speak to the #1 player in the world, Justine Henin. Justine, what would you say is the biggest challenge facing female professional tennis players today?
Well, it's tough. It's tough to find a good balance between personal life and professional life, because the men players, they can have babies, they have children and still playing, and for women it's not that easy for sure to come back after giving birth. So it's tough. In another way, we are very emotional, so it's not that easy to travel a lot, to be away from the family, from people we love, and that's always a tough deal.
Do you find that you actually have to choose between family life and life on the tour? Because I know that your compatriot, Kim Clijsters, recently retired from the game in order to start up a family. So would you actually say that you have to choose between the two?
For a certain period of time, yeah, I think tennis is the most important thing in my life now, but I'm sure in a few years I will want something else. I will be ready also to maybe to have children and to really be a woman, and that's it, not a tennis player anymore. So but it's not time for that, and in life it's always a question of steps and move forward and know what's the best now. And for me it's my career now, and I'm sure in a few years it will be something else, so you must enjoy every moment of it.
Dubai is one of the tennis tournaments, along with the Grand Slams, that offers equal prize money between men and women. Now, some critics suggest that because men play best of 5 and women only play best of 3, that men actually deserve more money. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think we deserve the equal prize money. I think we all do the same sacrifices, and men and women are just simply different. And we have to accept the difference, because we work probably as hard, and we give a lot of emotions to the fans, and the women's game is getting more popular. So I think it's pretty fair the way it is now, and we're all glad about that.
What advice would you give to young girls who are considering a career in professional tennis?
Yeah, it's very hard to give advices, but what I can say is just you better work hard. There's no choice. You must work hard all the time, not being afraid of doing sacrifices, and then always remind that remain the same person, because tennis and getting popular and money is important, but you must remain the same person, because it's not everything in my life.
Wow, that must have been an absolute dream come true for you, Julie.
It totally was. I mean, you all know that tennis is my favorite sport, as I said, and she is the #1 player in the world. She's been #1 for weeks. I cannot imagine the immense pressure she's under week in, week out, to kind of, stay focused. I mean, with all the competition out there. And also, as she mentioned, balancing family life and life on the tour is absolutely, treacherous.
Not forgetting that she recently had a divorce.
I think that, maybe life on the tour did have something to do with it. I don't know all the details about it, but I know that she had to actually take time off from the tour to deal with her personal life. So
that is living proof that you do have to make serious compromises. I mean, you don't even know what she did earlier on, like she obviously chose, her marriage over having, or her profession rather than having kids. She doesn't have kids, does she?
No, she doesn't, but she did mention that she'd like to have them in the future. And when I talked to her about her compatriot, Kim Clijsters, who recently retired, when she was at the top of the game, which was amazing, and a lot of people were shocked about that, it was because she chose to have a child and have a family. I mean, she got married and stuff. So I asked if, she had to make a choice about that, and she said clearly, but in the future she'd like to have kids.
It's definitely a big choice. And what was her demeanor like? What did she look like?
Well, what was amazing was that obviously she's Belgian and I speak a little bit of French, so I kind of broke the ice a little bit by speaking to her in French a little bit, and I told her that these weren't going to be tennis questions per se, and we were going to talk about some women's issues. So, she was really pleasant, and I don't know what it's like when you have to deal with all the press that they have to deal with all the time, and the WTA is very very, very stringent in what you're allowed to ask the players and what you're not. So that was a tremendous experience. But I also like what you said about the equal pay thing, because I mean, a lot of critics have said that because men play a lot longer than women, they spend a lot more time on the court, they should get more money.
Do you
But she had
think
a great
that's
answer
valid?
for that.
Do you think that that's valid, her answer? I mean,
Well, I do, because she said that the entertainment factor that women provide and the fact that women also have a following and a big fan base, that they deserve as much, you know, as much pay as well. And I think that's really true. And you know what? I also had a chance to ask Ivanovic, who is number 3 in the world, Ana Ivanovic, a Serbian player, what she thought about playing in Dubai and whether it was the fact that there's equal pay here in Dubai between men and women that drew her to Dubai. And this is what she had to say.
When I'm playing, I don't think about prize money or anything, but this is just such an interesting city to visit and obviously great tournament to play. And last time I was here was 3 years ago, so it's a long change since then, but I'm really happy to be back here and I really hope I can play well.
Now, I understand that this tournament has been voted one of the favorite tournaments on the tour. Why do you think that is? What's special about this tournament?
Organization, it's great, and the weather, it's always nice. And as I said, I haven't played it many times, but I'm sure I'm gonna enjoy it because many people said it's the best tournament. So I'm looking forward for time here.
It's nice to see and to actually know that these tennis players out there appreciate Dubai and everything that it has to offer. Especially they enjoy playing in those tournaments so much and they appreciate everything about it, especially the organizational aspect of it.
Yeah, I know. I love that. I mean, even with Justine Henin, she has won the tournament 4 times. She's been here, this is her 5th time here. Every time she's been here, she has won the tournament. Now, back in, I think the tournament started 8 years ago for the women. It's been around for 16 years for the men. And so the fact that every time she comes here, she wins is fantastic. and
that'll help you like Dubai.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's really fantastic. And you were saying that Ivanovic has done some advertising campaigns here as well.
I think she was associated with some sporting brands as well as watch brands last year, I think, on her trip here to Dubai. So.
She's become very commercial because
Yeah.
I'm
She
not
is
an avid
beautiful.
follower of tennis, and I know Ana Ivanovic, and so I think that like this much is tennis and this much is advertisements and commercial work and stuff
Well,
like
she
that.
is
She's done quite a
absolutely
bit.
beautiful, so I can understand why she's become the rising
just- Is she
star
as
of women's tennis.
beautiful
She is
in real
beautiful.
life?
You know what I was really surprised about is how tall she is. Now you girls know that I'm a tall girl.
Oh, yeah.
But this woman was at least a foot taller than me. That's how I
No.
felt. That's how I
Taller
felt. She
than you?
is really, really tall.
That's
I
really
suppose she has to
tall.
be at least 6 feet.
And she's Serbian, right?
Yeah.
There's like a whole bunch of Serbians that are like top tennis players apparently.
It is
Isn't that right?
amazing. I mean, Djokovic on the men's side, he's number 3 in the world, and he just won the Australian Open. So it's amazing that, you know, from this little country that's not normally a tennis country, that there are 3 players in the top 4 in the world on both the men's and women's. I mean, if you look at the women's side, we've got Ivanovic, who's number 3, and Jankovic, who's number 4. And
pretty
I don't even know where all
impressive.
this fire comes from, but
Yeah.
it's really amazing.
That's pretty impressive. Serbia's, I think either people want to get out of Serbia or they just got a really good tennis training regime.
In any case, we're going to take a small break now. Don't go away, because when we come back, we've got a lot more for you here on City Women.
Welcome back to City Women. To say our next guest has a passion for food is probably an understatement. She's a chef, a product shut designer, and today she'll be talking to us about her best-selling book, Taste of Arabia. But first, check this out. Jessie Parker's love affair with all things food began in her home country of South Africa. Not satisfied with creating great food, Jessie's passion for writing saw her move into journalism, food writing, and subsequently food styling for photography. Her move to the United Arab Emirates 30 years ago provided her with the opportunity to become the Middle East's first food columnist. As a regular food columnist in the region, providing commentary and recipes to over thousands on a weekly basis, the next obvious step was for her to write her own cookbook. A Taste of Arabia was published in 2006, becoming an instant bestseller.
And now we're joined by author of Taste of Arabia, Jessie Parker. Jessie, welcome to City Women.
Hello, thank you very much for inviting me here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Jessie, you started off being a chef at the age of 18. After that, you had 30 years of journalism. Today, you're the author of Taste of Arabia. Tell us a little bit more about this transition.
Well, I started off as a chef, as you say, and the work is very precision-based, and it's also very creative to begin with, and then you have to create the same thing over and over again. I knew I couldn't do that forever. But I wanted to stay in food because I'm passionate about food. Love the excitement of food, love flavors. So I just knew that I had to find something that married, whatever I did had to marry what my first love was food.
Without the actual repetition of being a chef.
And creative writing, being a journalist was great. So I made that transition here in Dubai in the 70s, in 77.
Are there a lot of female journalists in the kind of the chef world?
I think there are today, but you know, in 77 when I wanted to do it, I had my first interview in the Sands on the edge of the Jebel Ali Road, it was called then, which was just a 2-lane track. And I spoke to an editor who was standing outside a huge shed that was going to be the Khalij Times. And he said, never heard of a food, you know, you can't be a food journalist, you have to be a women's journalist. So in fact, I started out with women, it all started with women. Mm-hmm. I had to be a women's journalist and train as a women's journalist, photojournalist in fact. And then on the side he said, and you can have a food column. So I actually had the first food column in the Middle East.
So there wasn't actually a market for that at the time?
It wasn't understood, no. At the time he said, you're wasting your time on food. How wrong he was. I mean, food is huge today. If you look at all the celebrity chefs. And it's been marvelous because I met a lot of these celebrity chefs before they were famous. Dubai's always encouraged a lot of innovative sort of stuff, and so chefs who are doing great things in London or in Paris, like Alain Ducasse, came out here. And so I met these guys, you know, really when they were fledgling, when they were starting off.
So
That's
you're
wonderful.
a bit of a pioneer, or you created a niche which didn't exist here in Dubai.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'd say those of us who were food journalists in the 70s, none of us knew what was coming, what was ahead of us. But I guess, yeah, we did in a way.
And what have you seen change over the last 30 years of being here in Dubai?
Well, it's an extraordinary change. I mean, you just go away for 3 and 4 months, and you come back and the roads have changed. Now everybody always talks about the traffic. But I think the thing that still exists in Dubai is this enormous sense of opportunity. Wonderful feeling that you can do anything here. And that's, for me, has been the attraction. I love the volatility of that. I love the sense of energy attached to that. So when I was able to start researching recipes, I started off with women's news, creating women's stories. And of course, there were very few ways to meet women. So we started a women's association that had various other small associations like Natural History, a club, and a bridge club, and a cookery club. I believe a lot of those a lot of the associations now which are incorporated formally had their start in those early years with the Khalij Times, like the Natural History Association started with the Khalij Times in those days. So I'm quite proud of that contribution.
Now, moving on to the Taste of Arabia. You've got many recipes in this wonderful book. Could you share a few of those recipes with us?
Well, you know, I started off wanting to make the recipe reflect the customs of this part of the world. And I wanted to start with rice recipes. Now, you never start a cookery book with rice recipes. You always start with appetizers or something like that. In fact, I did start with appetizers. I started with tango and bargilla, you know, those lovely little chickpea and broad bean nibbles that you sprinkle lime and cumin over. And the first time I tasted that was in the desert. Actually on a Khalij Times, on a desert trip with a lot of women on an archaeological site. And we met some Bedouins and they gave us that. So I'm trained as a chef to analyze food, so I knew exactly what I was eating. I'd come back and record that recipe. And I've been very busy over the years in food styling, mainly producing production for food styling, for TV, commercials and that sort of stuff. So if you see something looking better than it actually tastes, That's my problem. As I do make food look, you know, really, that's what I concentrate on. What I try to do in this book is make the food look like it was when I first saw it.
Wow.
You know,
so you're trying to keep it
fresh, beautiful, simple, rustic, and reflect the customs through glancing at the recipe and the pictures in the book. You can actually feel and understand the customs, the respect for the food.
Now, are there fusion recipes in the book, or is it straight up?
No,
this is how it was presented to you, and this is its in its uniquest form.
Well, if you take it, when you talk about fusion, no, I don't. There's one recipe that I would say has a fusion sort of aspect to it. You know, moulabia, the cornstarch pudding recipe.
Yes.
I've sort of given that a lemony flavour because I like that, and I also the way I cook it is slightly different because I like the flavours of panna cotta, the Italian panna cotta, and I can see the similarity. So that's the only one that I've really jigged, if you like. But the rest are really recorded in there as honestly as I first tasted them and as I remember them.
In their real form.
Yes. So the book starts with rice and then goes on to stews because that's very important. And then, of course, I have to do the mezza. I have to do. Any book about Arabia has to have mezza.
Now, is it mostly, are you reflecting Lebanese cuisine? Are you reflecting local cuisine?
Well, as anybody who's from the Arab world will read this, they'll look at my tabbouleh recipe and say, oh, this is the Lebanese one. Because, you know, the Palestinians will add more bulgur.
True.
And the Syrians less.
Yes.
So I understand all these differences in the region. So in that case, they'll say, this is... Then they'll turn over and go to another recipe and say, this one's origins are in Syria. Okay. So in that, you know, sometimes I talk about the origins, and sometimes I introduce each recipe with the moment that I tasted. You know, the senses, the flavors, what I heard, what I saw, you know, the emotional part of eating.
But I love the fact that you, like every recipe you said, reflects the customs of that area, the tabbouleh, how it differs from Lebanon and Syria and Palestine. I think that's very important, very interesting.
I think that I need to come over to your house and you'd make me feel like Mom was back in town. Thank you so much, Jessie, for coming on the show and sharing wonderful recipes with the rest of the world.
Thank you. Great. And it's going to be translated into Arabic soon, so I'm looking forward to that.
All this talk about food has got me really hungry. And unfortunately for me, I'm one of those women who tends to eat whenever I'm stressed out. And I bet I'm not alone.
My comfort food, that's salad.
It would have to be chocolate.
My comfort food is seafood.
It's pasta. Pasta.
My comfort food is chocolate.
Cake.
Fish and vegetables.
It's fruit, apple, ananas.
Chips. My comfort food is potatoes. I actually love them. All forms, all shapes and sizes. You know, any form it is cooked in, I love it. Whether it's curried, whether it's fried, anything really, mashed.
Now, I know when I'm stressed or I'm thinking of something that's worrying me a lot, I definitely go for my comfort food, which is mostly chocolates. And I like thick, rich, white chocolates, normal chocolates, black chocolates, even after 8, anything chocolate. And I can't get enough when I start. It's ridiculous. My husband comes home, he looks at me, he's like, Lara, stop, what are you doing? I'm like, no, leave me alone. Just give me this time with my chocolate. I need that time.
I bet Susie's a big chocolate eater when it comes to comfort food.
This is the thing. For comfort food, I eat when I'm stressed out. Most people are like, I'm in love, I can't touch food. I'd be like, I'm loving. I eat when I'm sad. Most people, they don't have an appetite when they're sad. I eat when I'm happy. I eat when I'm uncomfortable. I eat when I'm comfortable.
Basically, she eats all day long. And we can definitely vouch for that, can't we, Lara?
Absolutely. Every time I see Susie, she's got a sandwich or a bag of chips or the most delicious cookies you will ever find.
We were just talking about what Susie had for breakfast today.
I couldn't even finish what I was trying to explain to them what I had for breakfast and then my snack in between breaks. And they're like, how did you have time to eat all of that?
I know. I haven't even had anything to eat all day, which is why I'm absolutely starving now. But generally speaking, I'm not a sweet tooth. So I don't like the chocolate. I don't like the honey and whatever she had to eat earlier. I am all about chips. Okay? Chips in the morning. I could eat chips for breakfast, to tell you the truth. Yeah, definitely.
Tell me, salt and vinegar, is that your thing?
Oh, I love that.
Oh,
they're my favorite.
Sour cream and onions,
salt
and vinegar.
I eat those and I cough at the same time as I'm eating them. They're so pungent.
Now, my thing is, I could eat just about anything and it could be comfort food. Like, I love Thai food. And I'm telling you, I feel like I have a Thai festival every Friday. A Thai food festival.
Thai food is my weakness.
I
That's
sit
what-
home and just deal with the Thai food.
What's your favorite when it
Friday.
comes to Thai cuisine?
I'll have to say it's the red curry. All the red curries, whatever it's with, and I like some of the noodle things, but I'm really heavy into the curry.
The coconut cream curry is my favorite.
And so fattening.
Oh gosh,
I
you
heard
guys
the
are making me
I
hungry
heard
just
Thai
talking about
is
food.
Really, really fattening.
Is
but
it?
I mean, look at what we like. We like chocolate. I don't really think it's definitely competition for the Thai food.
Have you guys ever come across anyone with a salt and a sweet tooth at the same time? I've got a friend of mine. She actually opens these huge bags of chips, empties them in these humongous bowls.
With M&Ms.
With M&Ms and hit chocolate biscuits.
Yeah, that's good.
And it has one biscuit and one chip. It's the weirdest thing.
Oh, it's really yummy. You never go to the cinema and you get caramel popcorn with salt popcorn, so you don't get too much salty, you don't get too much sweet, you just break it up.
Yeah, but you don't
eat
mix
it.
them, Susie. You have them in
Yeah.
separate buckets.
Ah, no. Okay, well.
You do? Oh, gosh.
It's so good. Well,
Cheers.
I'm afraid we're going to have to sign off for now, but you can continue to keep in touch with us by sending in your comments or suggestions to citywomen@city7tv.com.
For more information about City Women, log on to city7tv.com. See you next time.